All right, so we're diving deep today, folks. And where are we headed? Mars. Well,
Yeah.
sort of. We're taking a deep dive into all the stuff you sent in about Mars exploration, and let's just say, it gets pretty interesting.
Yeah, we've got landing celebrations and conspiracy theories all mixed together, kind of a wild ride through the world of Mars, you could say.
You know, it's funny, you've got NASA over the moon, so to speak, when that InSight lander touched down successfully.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's not easy landing anything on Mars, right? You need everything to go perfectly.
Yeah, what's the statistic? Didn't you say something like two-thirds of Mars landings end up as, well, not successful?
Historically, that's about right. It really highlights what a huge accomplishment InSight's landing was. I mean, you think about the ingenuity, the persistence it took to pull that off. It's pretty
It
inspiring.
really is. But, you know, alongside that celebration, your sources also point out that there's this, well, this shadow of skepticism, right? People comparing it to moon landing conspiracies and all that.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? You have this incredible scientific achievement, and yet there's this undercurrent of doubt. Makes you wonder what drives that kind of thinking, doesn't it?
Totally. I mean, some people just love a good conspiracy theory, I guess. But is there something more to it than that? What do you think fuels that doubt, even in the face of all the evidence?
Hmm, tough question. I think for some folks, it might be a way of coping with the sheer scale of it all. I mean, space exploration is mind-blowing. It challenges our understanding of our place in the universe. Maybe doubt makes it feel a little less overwhelming.
That makes sense. I mean, space is vast and mysterious. It's easy to get caught up in speculation and wonder if there's more to this story than what we're being told.
For sure. But then again, maybe it's a matter of trust, you know? We live in an age where information is constantly being questioned. So it's natural to be skeptical, even when it comes to something as incredible as landing on Mars.
Yeah, a healthy dose of critical thinking is always a good thing. But okay, enough about the conspiracy theories for a minute. There was this one specific incident during the InSight landing that really caught my attention. Remember that photo? The one that seemed to show a blue sky on Mars for a brief moment?
Oh, yeah, the blue sky incident. It caused quite a stir in the Mars enthusiast community.
I bet. It was quickly replaced with images showing the more familiar gray sky. But even that brief glimpse was enough to spark a whole debate about whether NASA was trying to hide something.
Well, you can see why it raised eyebrows. I mean, we're talking about Mars. Any hint of something unexpected is going to get people talking, right?
Absolutely. And it makes you realize how much we rely on those images, especially when it comes to a place we can't physically visit. It's like we're piecing together a puzzle, and each image provides a clue.
It's true. We're dependent on technology to show us what Mars looks like, which means there's always room for interpretation and, of course, for speculation. And speaking of images and speculation, your sources also brought up some interesting questions about the Mars dial, that color calibration tool on the
Right,
rovers.
the dial. What was it? One of the photos showed it was missing the blue and green segments.
Exactly. And naturally, this got the conspiracy theorists buzzing. I mean, if they're manipulating colors, what else are they hiding, right? At least that's what some folks were wondering.
It does make you think, though, if someone's going to the trouble of altering images, what's the motivation? What are they trying to cover up?
Yeah, those are the questions that get people digging deeper. It's important to remember, though, that there could be less sinister explanations, too. Technical glitches during transmission, data corruption, those kinds of things happen.
That's a good point. We tend to jump to the most sensational conclusion, but it's always wise to consider all the possibilities before we jump to conclusions.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely. Critical thinking is key, especially when dealing with information from such a far off and mysterious place like Mars. But speaking of strange things spotted on Mars, I have to ask you about those Curiosity rover images from 2015. The ones with that strange anomaly moving around, seemingly burrowing into the ground.
Oh, man, those images. I have to admit, they gave me chills. There's something about seeing something unexplained, something
Yeah.
potentially alive on another planet. It's
Yeah,
both fascinating and a little scary.
I know what you mean. What really gets me about those images is the timing between them. It's irregular, almost as if some photos were, well, removed. Maybe photos that showed more of this creature, as some people are calling it.
Okay, now you're really making me nervous.
Yeah.
What could NASA be trying to hide? I mean, is it possible? Could this be evidence of life on Mars? Or is there another explanation?
It's hard to say for sure. It definitely calls for more investigation, wouldn't you say? And hey, you know what else is interesting? Remember that photo that was making the rounds online? The one that looked like a Martian landscape with figures in the background? People thought it was proof of a staged Mars landing.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. It looked so convincing. What was the real story there? Was it just a really elaborate hoax?
Actually, it turned out to be a photo from a NASA research facility in Canada. They have this place designed to simulate Martian conditions, for testing rovers and equipment.
Wow, talk about a case of mistaken identity. It's kind of funny, though, isn't it? NASA trying to recreate Mars on Earth, and it ends up fueling more conspiracy theories. Talk about irony.
Definitely ironic, but hey, it goes to show how easily we can be misled by images, especially when they tap into our fascination with the unknown. But okay, enough about the mysteries and controversies. Let's get down to brass tacks here. What about actually sending humans to Mars? Elon Musk and SpaceX are all about making it happen, but is it really feasible?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. It sounds like something out of a science fiction movie, right? Humans on Mars.
Hmm.
But I know there's some huge challenges. Your sources mentioned that even just getting there is only half the battle.
Oh, for sure. The journey itself is a massive undertaking. We're talking about a year in space just to get there. And that's not even factoring in the return trip. Think about the toll that takes on the human body.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Being cooped up in a spaceship for a year, dealing with zero gravity, must be pretty tough on the astronauts, both physically and mentally.
Absolutely. You've got muscle and bone atrophy, cardiovascular issues, not to mention the psychological challenges of prolonged confinement. It's a whole different ballgame compared to the relatively short missions we've seen so far.
I tried a sensory deprivation tank once, just for an hour, and I felt like I was going stir crazy.
Mm.
I can't even begin to fathom what it would be like to spend a year in a spaceship millions of miles from Earth.
It takes an incredible amount of mental and physical fortitude to handle those conditions. It really makes you appreciate the dedication and resilience of astronauts.
They're pushing the boundaries of human endurance.
They really are. But even if we solve the challenges of getting to Mars, what about staying there? I mean, what are the practicalities of living on another planet? It's not like we can just pop down to the grocery store for supplies.
You're hitting on one of the biggest challenges of long-term Martian habitation, sustainability. We can't just ship everything from Earth. It's too costly and inefficient. We need to figure out how to live off the land, so to speak.
So we're talking about growing food on Mars. Are we talking Martian farms and greenhouses? How would that even work?
That's exactly what scientists are researching. There's a lot of focus on developing closed-loop systems, recycling air, water, and waste. We'd also need to figure out how to grow food using hydroponics or aeroponics, maybe even figuring out how to cultivate Martian soil. Wow, it sounds like creating a miniature Earth inside a high-tech habitat. It's incredible to think about the level of ingenuity and problem-solving it would take to make that happen.
Yeah, the challenges are immense, but so are the potential rewards. Imagine the possibilities if we could establish a self-sustaining human presence on another planet. It would be a giant leap for humanity.
It would be a defining moment in human history. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Before we start building Martian cities, we need to consider the psychological impact of living in such an isolated and alien environment.
You're right. It's not just about physical survival. We need to understand how prolonged isolation, confinement, and the constant awareness of risk will affect the mental well-being of Martian colonists.
I imagine it would take a very specific type of person to thrive in that kind of environment. Someone who's adaptable, resilient, and maybe a little bit adventurous, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And beyond individual personalities, we'd need to foster a strong sense of community and shared purpose among the colonists. Social cohesion and psychological support would be crucial for maintaining morale and ensuring the long-term success of any Martian settlement.
We wouldn't want a mutiny on Mars, right?
Definitely not.
Ah.
But hey, before we start worrying about Martian mutinies, we need to figure out the basics, like how are we going to power these habitats? I doubt solar panels alone will cut it, especially with those infamous Martian dust storms.
Good point. We'd need a reliable and robust power infrastructure. A combination of solar, nuclear, and maybe even geothermal energy might be necessary to provide a consistent energy source for all those life support systems, research facilities, and maybe even Martian industries down the line.
Now you're talking Martian industries. What kind of businesses do you envision popping up on the red planet? Space mining. Martian tourism. I'm ready to book my ticket now. Hold on, you might want to wait until they figure out how to grow those Martian potatoes and make that Martian wine you mentioned earlier. But yeah, the economic potential of Mars is vast. Who knows what kind of innovations and industries will emerge as we explore and settle this new frontier? Pretty exciting to think about.
It is. But, before we get too caught up in dreams of Martian metropolises and interplanetary commerce, let's take a step back and consider the ethical implications of all this. I mean, we're talking about potentially transforming an entire planet.
Yeah, that's not something to take lightly. We need to ask ourselves some tough questions. Do we have the right to alter another world to suit our needs? What if there's microbial life already on Mars? What impact will our actions have on the planet's environment?
It's a heavy responsibility, no doubt. We can't just barge in and start terraforming without considering the potential consequences. And speaking of consequences, we haven't even touched on the possibility of encountering extraterrestrial life. What happens if we're not alone in the universe?
That's the ultimate wild card, isn't it? First contact with an alien species would fundamentally change everything we know about ourselves and our place in the cosmos. It's both exhilarating and terrifying to imagine.
And it's not just about little green men either. What if there are advanced civilizations out there? What are the implications for humanity? It's a lot to wrap our heads around.
You said it. The more we learn about space, the more questions we seem to have. But that's part of the beauty of exploration, isn't it? The pursuit of knowledge, the constant pushing of boundaries, it's what drives us forward.
I couldn't agree more. But hey, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the thrill of landings to the shadows of doubt, from the challenges of survival to the ethical dilemmas of colonization. But there's one more piece of the puzzle we need to explore before we wrap up: the role of private companies like SpaceX in this whole Mars endeavor.
Right. They're a major force in the new space race, and their involvement raises all sorts of interesting questions about the commercialization of space and the future of exploration.
Definitely. They're pushing the boundaries in ways we never imagined. But we'll save that discussion for part 2 of this deep dive. We need to give SpaceX their due, after all.
Welcome back to the deep dive. So before the break, we were talking about SpaceX and their role in all this. But first, got to circle back to something pretty important. Remember how we were talking about the possibility of actually transforming Mars, making it more like Earth?
Yeah, terraforming. The whole idea is mind-blowing, but it also raises some serious ethical questions, right? Like, what if there's already life on Mars? Even if it's just microbial, do we have the right to just, wipe it out to make room for ourselves?
It's a tough one, for sure. I mean, right now, we just don't know for sure whether there's any indigenous life on Mars. But if there is, yeah, terraforming could mean we're jeopardizing an entire ecosystem before we even discover it.
It does feel kind of like playing God, doesn't it? Reshaping an entire planet to suit our needs. Like, who are we to decide the fate of another world?
That's the big question, isn't it? I mean, are we just visitors passing through, or do we have the right to, claim a planet and make it our own, even if it means potentially wiping out whatever might already be living there?
Tough call. But on the other hand, if we could actually pull it off, if we could make Mars habitable for humans, wouldn't that be incredible? Think about it. A second home for humanity, especially with all the problems we're facing here on Earth.
That's the argument a lot of people make in favor of terraforming. They see Mars as like an insurance policy for humanity, a backup plan if things go really south here on Earth.
Yeah, I get it. Climate change, resource depletion, you name it. We're definitely facing some serious threats to our long-term survival on this planet. A second home wouldn't be such a bad idea.
Exactly. The idea of a planet B is really appealing for a lot of people. But even if we set aside the ethical stuff for a second, there are still all those practical challenges to think about. And I'm talking huge challenges.
Yeah, we talked about getting humans to Mars, but actually terraforming the whole planet, that's got to be a whole different level of complexity.
Oh, yeah. We're talking planetary scale engineering here. Manipulating the atmosphere, redirecting water, basically creating a whole new biosphere from scratch. The technology we'd need, well, a lot of it's still theoretical, and don't even get me started on the resources it would take.
And the time. I mean, we'd be talking centuries, maybe even millennia, to make Mars truly Earth-like, right?
Right, and that's assuming everything goes perfectly according to plan, which, let's be honest, is never a guarantee with something this massive. There could be complications, unintended consequences, maybe even total failure.
So it sounds like we've got ethical dilemmas, practical challenges, and a whole lot of unknowns. Where does that leave us in terms of, the big picture of Mars exploration?
I think it leaves us with a sense of awe, and with the realization that we still have so much to learn. I mean, the fact that we're even thinking about terraforming another planet says a lot about human ambition and ingenuity.
It's mind-blowing, for sure. But it sounds like we need to proceed carefully, think things through before we start playing planetary architect.
Exactly. It's not just about can we terraform Mars, but should we? And that's a conversation that needs to involve everyone, not just scientists and engineers.
Well said. Okay, now you know I love a good mystery. And your sources mention another weird sighting by the Curiosity rover back in 2014. This time, it wasn't a creature or anything, but a bright light showed up in two different photos taken by the rover.
Oh, yeah, the Martian light. Of course, NASA had their explanations. A cosmic ray hitting the camera, sunlight reflecting off a rock.
It does seem a little too simple, though, doesn't it? I mean, people love a good conspiracy theory and a mystery light on Mars. That's prime material.
Well, it taps into our fascination with the unexplained, right? We want to believe there's more out there than we know. And when you have images like these, images open to interpretation, yeah, it fuels that sense of wonder and speculation.
So what do you think? Technical glitch or something more, well, extraordinary?
I think it's important to say that we don't have all the answers. Healthy skepticism is good, but so is keeping an open mind. Maybe one day we'll have a better understanding of what caused that light.
I like that. Healthy skepticism and an open mind. A good approach to pretty much everything, I'd say. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Your sources talk about water on Mars, and not just in the past. They suggest there might be liquid water on Mars today.
That's right. We're not talking rivers or oceans, but evidence suggests there might be briny water seeping out from some slopes during warmer periods. They call them recurring slope linea. They look like dark streaks, and they kind of come and go with the seasons.
But I've seen pictures of Mars. It's like a dry, dusty desert. Where's all this water hiding?
You need a powerful telescope to see these streaks. Scientists analyze the light reflecting off them, and it turns out they're made of hydrated salts. That suggests there's liquid water, really salty water, flowing just below the surface.
Okay, so maybe not swimming pools on Mars, but even salty water is a big deal, right? I mean, water is essential for life as we know it.
Exactly. It means that conditions below the surface might be suitable for liquid water, even if it's just temporary. And wherever you find water, the possibility of life, at least the kind of life we know, goes way up.
So these salty seeps could be like little oases, maybe harboring tiny Martian microbes. Now that's an exciting thought.
It definitely adds to the intrigue. And speaking of the search for life, the Curiosity rover has been busy analyzing Martian soil samples, and they found some pretty amazing things.
Spill the tea. What did they find?
Well, Curiosity found organic molecules in the soil and rocks, things like methane, and those are considered the building blocks of life.
So maybe no little green men, but possibly tiny Martian microbes.
It's a possibility. No, it's not proof of life, but it's a strong indication that Mars might have been habitable in the past, and hey, maybe it still is in some places.
This is incredible. Every new discovery seems to point us closer to answering that big question. Are we alone in the universe?
And remember, the search continues. NASA's Perseverance rover landed in 2021, and its main mission is to hunt for signs of ancient microbial life.
Biosignatures.
Yeah.
That sounds like something out of Star Trek. What are we talking about here?
Think of them like fingerprints left by life. They could be specific molecules or fossil traces, or even certain ratios of isotopes that suggest biological processes. And the samples Perseverance is collecting, they're going to be brought back to Earth for analysis.
It's like having a high-tech detective on Mars searching for clues about its past. And who knows? Maybe those samples will hold the proof we need to know that we're not alone.
That's the hope. But let's change gears for a minute. Let's talk about humans actually living and working on Mars, because the challenges go way beyond just getting there.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, it's a totally alien world. Extreme temperatures, a thin atmosphere, radiation exposure. And that's not even considering what it would be like psychologically being so far from home.
You're right. Those are all crucial factors. We'd have to create self-sustaining habitats, figure out how to deal with isolation and confinement, develop technology that works reliably in that harsh Martian environment.
It would be like living in a constant science experiment. Every detail of daily life planned out and monitored.
Yeah, early Martian life would definitely be like that. Think of those early Antarctic explorers braving extreme conditions to push the limits. It takes a special kind of person to thrive in that kind of environment.
And what about, the mental aspect? Being on this desolate alien world, knowing that Earth is millions of miles away. It must be a strange feeling knowing you can't just, hop on a plane and visit family.
The psychological challenges of space travel and planetary living are something we're just starting to understand. Isolation, confinement, the constant awareness of risk, all of these things can have a big impact on mental well-being.
I imagine building a strong sense of community would be super important in a Martian settlement. Like that shared purpose, that feeling of being in it together.
Absolutely. Social cohesion and psychological support would be vital for morale and for making sure any Martian colony could actually succeed in the long run.
So let's talk tech. What kind of technology would we absolutely need to survive on Mars? What are the innovations that would make a self-sustaining human presence possible?
Well, first and foremost, we'd need advanced life support systems that could recycle air, water, and waste. Think of it like creating a miniature, self-contained Earth inside the Martian habitat.
A closed-loop ecosystem. So cool. But what about power? We're not going to be running extension cords from Earth to Mars, are we?
Definitely not. We'd need a reliable power source. Probably a combination of solar and nuclear power to provide enough energy for everything. The habitat, transportation, communication, the whole shebang.
And what about food? Shipping groceries from Earth doesn't sound very practical or affordable for that matter.
Yeah, we'd have to figure out how to grow food on Mars, advanced hydroponics, aeroponics, maybe even figuring out how to cultivate Martian soil for crops.
So Mars-grown potatoes maybe, washed down with some Martian wine.
Maybe one day. But beyond the basics, we'd also need to think about infrastructure for research, exploration, and maybe even industry and commerce. We're talking about building a whole new society on Mars.
It's an amazing vision, but it comes with, well, some truly immense challenges.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about so much in this deep dive already. Successful missions, controversies, the ethics of terraforming, searching for water and life, and now the challenges of actually living on Mars.
It's been a fascinating journey for sure. We've explored the science and the philosophy of our quest to understand Mars and our place in the universe.
And it sounds like we need to proceed with both caution and curiosity, excitement and a sense of responsibility.
Exactly. It's not just about whether we can do it, but whether we should. And that's a conversation we all need to be part of.
Well, before we wrap up this deep dive, there's one last thing I wanted to bring up. Remember those conspiracy theories we talked about earlier? The ones about NASA hiding information and manipulating images? Well, there's this whole other side to that coin, and it has to do with the way we interpret information, especially when it comes to something as mysterious and distant as Mars.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. It's about perception, confirmation bias, and how our own beliefs and expectations can shape the way we see things, right?
Exactly. It's like we see what we want to see, or what we expect to see. And when it comes to Mars, well, let's just say there's a lot of room for interpretation.
For sure. We're all predisposed to see patterns, to make connections, even when they might not be there. And when you add in the whole unknown factor of space exploration, it's easy to jump to conclusions, especially when those conclusions confirm our existing beliefs.
You know, it's funny. We talked about those images that seem to show a blue sky on Mars, and the ones with the missing colors on the calibration tool. Some people saw them as proof of a cover-up. But what if it's just our brains trying to make sense of something unfamiliar?
That's a really interesting point. Our brains are wired to find patterns and create narratives. So it's natural that we try to impose some kind of order or explanation onto these ambiguous images, especially when you consider the fact that space is so vast and mysterious.
Right. I mean, we humans crave certainty. We want to understand the world around us. But when it comes to space, there's still so much we don't know. And that unknown can be both exciting and unsettling.
It's a constant dance between wonder and uncertainty, and that's what makes exploration so compelling. We're constantly pushing the boundaries of knowledge, challenging our assumptions, and expanding our understanding of the universe.
It's a journey without a final destination, right? A journey of constant discovery and learning. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
I couldn't agree more. It's a reminder that we should never stop questioning, never stop exploring, never stop being curious about the world around us.
And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the thrill of discovery to the complexities of ethics, from the search for life to the challenges of colonization. It's been an incredible journey, and I hope our listeners are as fascinated by Mars as we are.
It's been a pleasure sharing this journey with you. And to our listeners, remember, keep looking up.
Why, welcome back to the deep dive. So last time we were talking about SpaceX and all that, and it's kind of a perfect segue, from all the challenges of Mars to the role these private companies are playing.
Yeah, it's really interesting, right? For so long, space exploration was all about government agencies like NASA, science, national pride, that kind of thing. But now you've got these private companies jumping in, and they've got this whole different, I don't know, energy, I guess you could say.
Yeah, Elon Musk and SpaceX, they've really captured people's imaginations with this whole idea of colonizing Mars. It feels like, I don't know, science fiction turning into reality. But what's driving this? Why are these private companies so interested in space all of a sudden? Is it just ambition, or is there more to it?
It's probably a mix of things. I mean, there's the excitement of pushing boundaries, doing what seems impossible, but there's also the money aspect. Space is full of resources, most of them untapped. And these companies, they see the potential for, like, Resource extraction, space tourism, even off-world industries.
So it's like a space gold rush.
Yeah.
Asteroids full of precious metals, lunar bases for research and tourists, Martian colonies with, I don't know, Martian malls and stuff.
Maybe. I mean, as technology gets better and space travel gets cheaper, yeah, these ideas start to look more realistic and potentially very profitable.
It's kind of both exciting and a little scary, isn't it?
Hmm.
On one hand, it's amazing to see this boom in innovation, the possibility of humans becoming a multiplanetary species. But then you have to think about, well, the ethics of it all.
Right, you had a key point there. As we go further into space, we need to have some ground rules, some ethical and legal frameworks. Who owns the resources? How do we protect the environments on other planets? What are the rights and responsibilities of people and companies operating in space? Big questions.
It's like writing a whole new chapter in human history, isn't it? We need to be careful about the precedents we set. But okay, let's talk about something even bigger, something we touched on earlier. What about the possibility of running into aliens out there?
Right, the search for extraterrestrial life, it's one of the most fundamental questions we face, isn't it? And if we did find alien life, even something simple, it would raise so many questions. Philosophical, ethical, all of it.
It's mind-boggling to think about. I mean, we've all seen the movies, right? But what would it actually be like? First contact with another intelligent species.
We can only imagine at this point, but one thing's for sure. We need to be ready. Not just with technology, but ethically and intellectually. We need to be prepared for the possibility that we're not alone.
It's both exhilarating and a little terrifying, isn't it? The universe is full of potential, but also unknown risks and challenges. But that's what makes exploration so captivating.
Absolutely. We humans were driven by curiosity, by this desire to push the limits, to see what's out there. And space exploration, that's the ultimate expression of that drive.
Will said. And I think that's a perfect place to wrap up our deep dive into Mars. We've covered so much. Successful missions, the controversies and those intriguing images, the ethics of terraforming, the search for water and signs of life, the challenges of living on Mars, and the role of private companies. It's been quite a journey.
It has, a journey full of wonder and caution, excitement and responsibility. And I think it leaves us with more questions than answers, which is how it should be.
You're right. The more we learn, the more we realize how much we don't know. But that's the beauty of science, of exploration. It's a continuous journey of discovery. It never really ends.
And that's a good thing. It keeps us curious, keeps us humble, keeps us moving forward.
So to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep that sense of wonder alive. And as always, keep looking up.